Hi, thanks for joining me. It's Erica from alittleinsanity.com. Today I want to share with you one of my favorite recipes. I hate to admit it, but I love dessert. And you know, oftentimes dessert isn't really good for you. But this recipe is different. This recipe is not only very delicious and chocolatey, which is two big criterias, it's also really good for you. And if you're a raw foodist, it's 100% raw, so you could really eat it anytime without feeling guilty. My family loves it, and these things go like hotcakes around our house. So I'm going to go over the special tools that you'll need for this recipe, as well as the ingredients. And again, join me for making macadamia nut chocolate macaroons. The tools that we need for this recipe are unique because this is actually considered raw food. And in the raw food diet, or in just a general whole food diet, a dehydrator is really essential. Of course, the other tool that we'll be using today is my trusty Vitamix. I have a 12-cup KitchenAid food processor. Today's ingredients are raw cacao nibs. We're going to be grinding them down to a powder and using 1 cup. We're going to be using 2 cups of coconut flakes, or in this case shredded coconut, unsweetened, preferably raw. You can find that in your bulk bin at your health food store, Whole Foods, whatever, but again, unsweetened dehydrated coconut flakes or shredded. We're going to be using 1 cup of raw almonds and 1/2 cup of macadamia nuts, again raw for both of these. What we're going to be doing with this is grinding them down into a flour using the Vitamix. I'll show you that process in a minute. We're going to be using 3/4 cup raw agave nectar. Again, with agave nectar, a little goes a long way, and that's going to be our sweetener. For flavoring, we're going to add pure vanilla extract, and we're going to be adding 1 tablespoon. We're going to be adding 2 tablespoons of coconut oil and 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. The tools I like to use for this recipe, in addition to the other equipment, is this neat little, I don't even know what size this would be. I'm going to assume this is a teaspoon, perhaps 2. It's like an ice cream scoop or a melon baller, but it's meant like for meatballing or whatever. But I got this off of Amazon for a few bucks, and boy does it make my life easier when I'm making these cookies. But if you don't have that, just a couple tablespoons will do, and you can form your own cookies. We're going to use our measuring spoons, our measuring cups, and you'll need a spatula, and I'm not sure, but I always had one of these in my kitchen. Sort of this fork-pronged thing. I don't even know how to describe it. I never had any use for it until I got a Vitamix. And it works fabulously for working out flours and sticky stuff from underneath the blades on the Vitamix. So I keep one of those handy. And again, you might have one of those just lying around wondering what it's good for. So we'll be using that. So this is our ingredients and our tools for today. So to save some time, I already went ahead and ground up my cacao nibs, and we're going to be using 1 cup. And as you can see, just like coffee grounds, they almost look like ground coffee beans. So again, you can either use your Vitamix to grind them up. A dry blade will work fine, but also the standard wet blade that comes with it. And you're going to grind them into a powder, and you're going to add that 1 cup just straight into your food processor. Okay, next up we're going to be adding 2 cups of coconut. I have shredded coconut that we made in our dehydrator, but otherwise you'll just want to pick up some coconut flakes that are usually in a bulk bin or in a bag. Make sure they are unsweetened. This is the key here, is we're trying to make a nutritious raw snack and dessert that you know, can eat guilt-free. Okay, what I like to do at this point is, I know it's just the chocolate and the coconut, is I like to just pulse it once or twice to get this mixed up well. Okay, to make our almond flour, we're going to dump 1 cup of raw almonds in. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on my Vitamix. And this, I'm going to be using a very low speed. We're not looking to heat it up. And there we have our almond powder. You'll notice the Vitamix change sounds, and as it starts to change sounds, you'll notice But now we are left with sort of this, I don't know if you can see that, this fine almond meal or almond flour. And we're going to go ahead and put that in our recipe. Okay, remember this weird fork tool that I told you about earlier? This is where it's going to come in handy. We're going to go ahead and just scrape the almond flour right into our food processor. But as you can see down at the bottom here, some almond flour gets just mealy or stuck. This is a perfect tool to get right around these blades and get that meal unstuck and back into your recipe. Okay, making macadamia nut flour is unique because macadamia nuts are very oily or very greasy. They have a lot of oils in them. They also can go rancid very fast, so be sure to keep them in your refrigerator. We're going to go ahead and dump that in. It's about a half a cup. Sometimes I sneak in 3/4 cup because they're so good, but because they're so expensive, use them sparingly and use them wisely. We're going to go ahead and follow the same procedure that we did for our almonds, except for at this point, depending on the oils and how much they get stuck, we may need to stop the Vitamix and give it a stir in between. Okay, so here we have our macadamia nut flour. We're going to use our trusty fork tool that's good for pretty much nothing else but scraping out the Vitamix. And now you have your dry mix. I'm going to go ahead and give it a couple pulses. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle in my half a teaspoon or so of salt. No need to measure, just kind of guesstimate there. And now we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of coconut oil. This is going to help just wet the mixture and give it that yummy coconut flair. We're going to go ahead and add our vanilla extract. Oh gosh, vanilla smells so good.
Yes, it does.
And now we're going to move on to raw agave nectar. Okay, I'm going to go for 3/4 cup. So this is a half cup. And I'm just going to add another 1/4 cup. Okay, now the fun part. We're going to get this mixture mixed and ready to scoop up. We're going to turn our food processor on and we're going to let it mix for just not long at all until it starts to get well mixed. You'll be able to tell. Okay, after about 20 seconds or less of mixing, we get this wonderful yummy mixture. Okay, so now we've got our Vitamix tray, our Excalibur tray. It comes like this. Then you have a screen. Then you have this wonderful non-stick, I believe they call it a Paraflex. I'm going to take my little scoop. I'm going to just scoop out a little macaroon. Okay, so here is our finished tray of macaroons. Again, it's setting to 115 degrees, about 24 hours. So in they go. And by tomorrow, we're going to have delicious treats. Okay, so it's been just about 30 hours since we put our chocolate macaroons into the dehydrator. Out. As you can see, about 10 of them didn't survive the dehydration process. Between my son and my husband and I, we devoured them. The cost of this in Hawaii is approximately $6 to $8 per batch, depending on where I'm able to source my ingredients. On the mainland, you'll probably have a cheaper experience. If you have any questions or if you would like to download the recipe for free, please feel free to visit the website at alittleinsanity.com. I'll also give you a list of all the ingredients that you would need, as well as where you can find all of the equipment that I used in the demonstration. I love hearing from you guys, so keep those comments and those emails, and if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a line anytime. Well, thanks again for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Good night. God bless.